Hello. How you doing, guys? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining in. What was that? That was nothing vital. Cool. Hope you're all doing alright out there. Hope you've had an okay week. Hello if you're watching on Twitch. Hopefully it's all working alright. It's the first time I've tried streaming to Twitch. Before now I've just been on YouTube. So I'm giving the whole multi-stream thing a go. If my poor old PC can handle it. So, good evening, Jesus. So, let's show you what we're going to be working on. If you're watching on YouTube, you would have seen me start this last week. This is a model friend of mine, Megan. And I'm just doing a picture of her. I'm planning on doing like blood all over her hands, and I don't know, maybe there's a husky hair, runny mascara, or I don't know, some crying blood or something, you know, just the usual dark kind of weird messed up kind of stuff, you know. So that, look, I've got a nice new graphic and everything, that so you can see me and see what I'm painting all at the same time, and it tells you my latest subscriber and my latest follower and the latest person who gave me a tip and my latest like, and isn't it all spanky? It's me. I'm just cooking a chicken and fried rice. That sounds alright. I had chicken tonight as well, but the frozen type that was covered in breadcrumbs. I'm no chef. I just bunged it in the oven and job done. Right then. So let's stop waffling and let's start painting. Now, I've had some thinners soaking in my airbrush for a little while, so just going to blast that through because it was a little grubby. Blast that through into there. Get some water. What's this? You've done a man's job, Spee. Yeah, it was mental tonight. I mentioned last week that an hour just didn't seem enough for the stream, so I was going to try and do 2 hours, but my good lady wife comes home at 9 PM from work, so I have to shut up at 9 o'clock. And that meant, of course, that I would have to start earlier. Oh, Ian, mate! Oh my God! Holy crap! Thank you. Wow! Cheers, mate. You're my first ever super chat. Wow. Love you, man. Thank you very much. Oh look, my super chat thing isn't working on the top. Alright, I'll have to fix that. That's probably a problem with the script. Your name should have appeared up there. And also, my chat doesn't seem to be working very well over there. Oh well. It's a work in progress. Ian, thank you. I really appreciate that, mate. Honestly. You didn't have to do that, and thank you. Right, nearly got my airbrush clean. Sorry, not very exciting stream at the moment. In true me fashion, I'm completely disorganised. There we go. Now she's spraying. Now we can work. Okay. Philippe knows 88. Thank you for following, my friend. Welcome to the stream. So, little recap. So we've done a complete base coat of Createx illustration colours, Tim Gore's Bloodline. It's a bit of a mouthful, that. Lifeline blush. That is all of that. And then I have started going in with a bit of the same paint brand, Natural Lip. I'm going to have to give this a bloody good shake, because as you can see, these paints really separate in the bottle. So this is going to sound really dodgy on mic for a little while. Good evening, Stephen. Nice of you to join, buddy. I wish I could join more of your live streams, mate, but they're normally on at my bedtime. I will endeavour to join more of your live streams, though. Good evening, Brian. Nucleos PS270. Flash team, got my digestives to dunk, ready to rock and roll. If not mistaken, your missus had a scan this week. Yes, she did, mate. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, my wife has multiple sclerosis, and she had a MRI scan to see how many more lesions on her brain she's got over the last... Crikey, when did she last have a scan? Must have been about 16 years ago. Ish. Yeah, my daughter's 15, so yeah, it must have been 16 years ago. And there was a few, and she's had another scan, and we're just waiting for the results. So we don't know yet, mate. But hopefully not many more. She's quite lucky she hasn't got the progressive type of MS that just wow, it's got windy out there. She hasn't got the progressive MS that just destroys you really quickly. She's got the slow burning one, for want of a better term. So it could be worse. Could be a whole lot better, but it could be worse. But yeah, hopefully we'll get the results soon. Right, so we've got this Natural Lip, and although, yeah, let's go with this one. Let's stick with this one. I'm not going to go massively over reduced like I normally go. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can tell this paint's old. Look how thick it is. And then some illustration reducer wherever I've put it. There it is. Ian Richards, hello, what did I miss? Good evening, Ian. Thank you for joining in. Not a lot. So far you've missed me cleaning my airbrush. Very exciting stuff. Been a long time since the last watch. Doing live now has these 12 views. Yeah, I still dabble in the cars, Philippe. Not many now though, just because there's so much prep work and finishing work. Sometimes the prep and the lacquering took longer than the actual paint job, you know. So I tend to do guitars for fun now, and do paper, canvas, that sort of stuff, because there's no real prep work or squirting 2K clear over it and then spending like a week buffing and polishing and flattening all the orange peel out of it. A lot less hassle. So I just added 4 drops of the illustration reducer into my paint cup and a little bit of water, and now I'm just shaking it, mixing it together. Hope turns a positive outcomes for you, praying for her. Thank you, mate. Sadly, it's only ever going to get worse. It will never get better. But we just hope that the progression of it is nice and slow. Like I say, there's plenty of people out there who are in a much worse state than she is. She's quite lucky, really. She's still got all her marbles and she's not in a wheelchair, so, and she's still able to work because that's where she is right now. Okay. So we've got that mixed up. Airbrush is squirting well. Is that a euphemism? Tell us about your camera and mic setup, sweet. Okay, mate, if you want. My mic is... let's change camera. If I go to that one... Hello. My mic is just a generic USB boom mic that I got off Amazon. I think it cost me about 20 quid, which, you know, does the job great. It's a directional one, so hopefully it doesn't pick up too much stuff in the background, although it does tend to. It's quite sensitive. My cameras, I have a Logitech webcam up there, pinned to a shelf. Just a 1080p Logitech webcam, and this one, which is that camera there, is a 15-year-old camcorder. Believe it or not, this thing is the camera I bought when I first started doing YouTube videos, and it's still going strong. I just got it plugged into the mains permanently. I've got a HDMI lead coming out of it that goes into the HDMI input on my computer's graphics card, and it lets me use it as a webcam, basically. And that is basically my setup. The software I'm using is Streamlabs OBS, which lets me set up all these different scenes. And yeah, that is my setup. It's quite simple, really. Nothing too expensive or anything. I think you can pick this camera up for a couple £100. It is a... what are you? It is a Panasonic HDC SD60, if you want to know. Like I say, it's a good 15-20 years old. I bought it when I first started doing YouTube videos. Feeling special watching you all alone here on Twitch, mate. I'm glad I've got a Twitch watcher, mate. Thank you for being my one and only Twitch watcher. I wasn't sure if I was going to have anybody on Twitch watching today. Talk about the softball game that's about to start. Thanks for sharing, brother. Keep the faith and... oh, bless you. Thank you, mate. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. Hope your daughter's softball game goes well. Take care, and I will see you soon, mate. Right then, let's get some paint going. So, we've got to continue shading all this like I've done there. I've also got to get my reference picture, which is actually stuck behind this. See, I told you I wasn't prepared at all, didn't I? Can I get that out without taking this off? Yes. So there we go. There's my reference photo that I took of her. I did a tattoo for her a few weeks back, and we did a cheeky photo shoot beforehand. So this is my reference picture of her, and I'm just changing it up a bit as I go along, changing some colours and stuff like that. Stick that back down so it doesn't blow around or make fart noises. Okay, so this shoulder is in shadow and is quite dark. Let's zoom you in a bit. Zoom. Give you all motion sickness. There we go. Just going light, not saturating it too heavy, because this paper I'm using can bubble up quite a bit if you're not careful, and especially when you're using real, well, I wouldn't say really over reduced, but when you're using fairly heavily reduced paints, it can tend to look a bit ugly on this paper, so I'm keeping it light. And the good thing about having it quite well reduced is that all this pencil will still show through quite a lot. So I haven't got to worry about having to draw all their tattoos back on again later. Is that a jack-o'-lantern on her wrist? Yes, it is a Nightmare Before Christmas sleeve that I did for her. There you go. She's just got this great big Nightmare Before Christmas sleeve on one arm that I've spent, how long have I known her now? Must be about 5 years now I've been tattooing her. She's a lovely lass. What's she call herself on Instagram? I think it's Vixen Blackheart, if I remember rightly, for those who want to go check out her profile. If I can spell Vixen right. Yeah, Vixen _ Blackheart. There she is. So go check her out on Instagram, give her a follow. Lovely lass. So I'm learning about time-lapse recording and my first vid was too fast. Any advice would be great. When I first started doing YouTube videos, I used to record on my camcorder here, just onto an SD card, just a regular recording, and then I used to use software on my PC to speed it up, and that took ages and really beat the crap out of my computer. So now I tend to do my time lapses actually on my phone, believe it or not, because there is a setting on that that does time lapse. If I'm doing stuff like this and using this setup I've got here, then I still tend to just record just at the normal speed, just onto my hard drive, and then use like Adobe Premiere Pro That's my video editing package, and I use that and normally speed it up to 1,000 times. So when I click on speed/duration on it, it says 100%, and I'll just add another 0 to make it 1,000 rather than 100. And that's normally a fairly good speed. But yeah, if it's a tattoo or something where I can't use this setup I've got here, I use my phone. If I can use this setup I've got here, I just record at normal speed and use Premiere Pro to speed it up. It does mean that my video files are gigantic though. So you need a lot of hard drive space. There's probably easier ways of doing it, but that's the way I do it. Okay, so she's got a shadow coming in across there. I was originally going to try and match the colours on the photo. But I was messing around with flesh tones and came up with this and instantly fell in love with it. So I decided to change it. How do you decide on the layering? Do you start off with the light and finish in dark or mix? Do you know what? I'm one of those painters that is all over the place. I normally start light to dark. So I'll put down the base tone, and then I will tweak it from there, starting doing the darker tones, and then finally doing the highlights. That's normally the way I go. But you'll probably see as I do this, as the weeks progress, I'll do this tone all over it and shade it, and then after I've done that, I've got deep espresso or espresso, however you pronounce it, to do the even darker shadows, and then I'll probably go back in and do some more mid-tones before I do some highlights. So there's kind of a method to my madness, kind of, but yeah, I do tend to go from light to dark. I also do things backwards because they always say when you're doing a painting you should start with what's furthest away and then work your way towards the viewer. So technically I should have done the background first and then done her second. But where's the fun of that? Rules were made to be broken. I'm thinking maybe a green, like a dark olive green grungy background on this maybe, or a burgundy or something like that, and all I'll need to do is just use like a mask. I use Ultra Mask, if you know what that is. It's like a clear frisket film, and I'll just put that over her, use the scalpel, carefully cut it out, that way she's masked off, and then I'll just spray the background over the top. And then, knowing my luck, I'll peel off the mask and peel off the painting, because that's normally what happens with my stuff. Right, so this shoulder does go quite dark along the edge. This is where having the paint reduced quite a bit comes in handy, because it gives you really good control for doing fine stuff around the edges like that. This little bit under our hand here needs to be pretty dark. Oh, bit too much paint there. If ever you get that as well, where you got too much paint, luckily you've got a air dryer in your hand, so just don't use any paint, just use the air and dry it off. It's great. Go with the flow. Exactly, mate. Exactly. I tend to let my pictures kind of, for want of a better term, paint themselves. Where I'll have just a rough idea in my head. Like I say, you know, I just had a picture of her with an olive green grungy background, you know, with like paint dribbles and that, almost like a watercolour effect. But with blood on her hands. There's an airbrush artist called Jay Ferguson. I've mentioned him before, and I absolutely love his work, and that's the kind of style I'm going for this one. I guess it's years of experience on the reactions of colour change with light dark over light. Yeah, I love colour theory, mate. I know very little about colour theory, but it does absolutely fascinate me how colours interact with each other and how you can trick the eye and that sort of thing. Like I was doing a picture once, and it was black and white, and I'd airbrushed it, and I wanted to put some more white highlights on, and when I did, curry has arrived, catch you later. Yeah, see you later, Ian. Thanks for popping in, buddy. Yeah, it was black and white, and I went back in and put some white highlights on, and the white was really, really blue. It looked really odd, and who was it who told me? It was one of my airbrush buddies. I think it might have been Kathy. But anyway, one of my airbrush mates said I should add a bit of orange into it, into the white. And I did, and it took away the blue hue straight away. So little tricks like that, you know. You would never think to add orange into a white to stop it looking bluish, but it works. And little things like that just fascinate me. They always have. His work is incredible. It is. I am a big fan of his. When I grow up, I want to be like him. That's if I grow up, of course. Because who wants to do a foolish thing like that, eh? I may grow up physically anyway. Right, so that's looking good. I'm quite happy with that. It might be a bit bright. I might need to tone it down a little bit. But we'll carry on with the rest of it for now. So this whole arm here, We've got a dirty great shadow that goes across there. Stick your feet in a blunt pot full of manure. So it's always the little tips that make the biggest difference. Yeah, totally. Just knowing little tricks like that, just, yeah, really does make all the difference. And like composition as well. Knowing how, like, leading lines and the rule of thirds and stuff like that. There's it's quite surprising how much goes into making a image that is pleasing for the eye. And I am by no means a master, that's for sure, but I'm trying. Have you had more tattoos this week? What have I had this week? This week has been a busy week, actually. Yeah. Today I was doing a Day of the Dead girl on a guy's hand. Poor chap did suffer. But he was under the needle for 5 hours. And all on his hand, bless him. There you go. Sneak peek for you. I did that on his hand today. And then, yeah, I've had like the usual pocket watches and doves and stuff like that. I don't worry about taking pictures of those ones anymore, because when you've done the first 200, they kind of get a bit samey. It's like, I won't bother putting those on social media because been there, done that. And funny enough, next week I've got 2 in, and one is a pocket watch and a dove, and the other one, which is next Saturday, so I'll probably be quite tired next week for the live stream. Next Saturday is a wolf, like a half sleeve wolf. I'll have to concentrate on that one. So the arm has a fade. We got a good shadow that comes in around here. It's really useful, people having tattoos on their arms, because you can really map out exactly where a shadow has to be. For example, she's got a shadow that comes in here, right around that curve on that tattoo. So I know that right around there needs to be a shadow. It's very handy. It's almost like when you're a kid, you know, when you drew a grid on a bit of paper and you drew each square bit by bit so that you got everything in exactly the right place. Incredible tattoo. I see what you did there. I'd be biting on leather though if that were me. Yeah, I'm I'm not a huge fan of getting tattoos. The last one I got was that one from Heidi, a mate of mine. Yeah, I can dish it, but I can't take it. They hurt. I am no stranger to numbing cream, let's put it that way. Although some numbing cream makes the skin go a bit weird. I never tell people they can't use it. You get some tattooists out there that are like, no, if you've used numbing cream I won't tattoo you, which I personally think is ridiculous. But I have come across some people who have used the numbing cream and it's kind of made their skin like cold chicken, for want of a better term. But generally numbing cream is alright. The only downside is, of course, if you're in for like a day session, most numbing cream only lasts for, well, everybody's different, but normally you get between half an hour to 2 hours of numbness from numbing cream. And if you're in for like a 5-hour day session, as soon as that cream numbs off, you're going to get all the pain all at once. And it's not the sort of thing where you can stop and put some more cream on when it's starting to run out. You know, you can only put one lot on. That shadow there is just a little bit harsh, so just blending that out a bit. And her arm gets progressively brighter because the light was over to her left, our right, so her hand's going to be bright, but her arm gets progressively darker as you get to the elbow. 1956 Willys 4x4, good evening. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming. Quite impressed with how this software's working actually. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using Streamlabs, and I really thought I was going to have like my phone for the YouTube comments and my computer for the Twitch comments and all that lot, but it's handling it all on its own. I'm quite impressed. I have got to fix my stuff up here though, because it's not working right. My latest subscriber's working, but that lovely tip that Ian sent me should be up here and it isn't, and my chat should be there and it isn't, so definitely a work in progress still. I'm not as good with computers as I used to be. I draw pictures for a living now. I draw on people. I don't do this technology stuff. So the highlight on her arm comes down here, kind of goes along there, so here needs to be a bit darker. Like so. what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint her flesh tones, and then I'm going to go in with a really reduced, like, smoke black, and airbrushing all her tattoos, and pray to God I don't get a spit. Never trust a tattooist that doesn't have tats themselves. Do you know what? When I started tattooing all those years ago, I had one on the back of my shoulder, back here. I got a skull back here with the Metallica star on its forehead. That was the first tattoo I ever got. Back when I met my missus, she used to live in London, and I used to build computers back then, so I would finish work, hop on the train in Basingstoke up to Reading, switch at Reading, and go up to London Paddington and go meet her every weekend. And one weekend she took me around London and I got a tattoo. And I'll always remember that the guy terrified me. He was a huge bloke. I mean, he was gigantic. He must have been 6 foot tall and built like a walking steroid. And I sat down on his chair, and he goes, "Right, 3 strokes and you're out." And bear in mind, it was my first ever tattoo. I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "If you move 3 times, you're out." I was like, "Oh, right, okay." So I spent the next 2 hours sat there terrified of moving. But he didn't have any tattoos. And like I say, when I started, I just had that one. I got way more now, of course. But it's a lot more common these days to have a tattooist that doesn't have any, especially with the women. There are a lot more female tattooists now. When I first started out, it was very male dominated. But now it's kind of flipped. There's way more female tattooists, and a lot of them don't have many at all. A tramp stamp. Yeah, I've done a few of those in my time. The old lower back tattoo, yeah. Although some people say the underboobs are the new tramp stamp. You know, when you see the lasses with the underboob tattoos. I don't think they are. I think they're nice tattoos, to be honest. Even the tramp stamp, it's a nice place for a tattoo, I think. Personally. Right, just shading this down so it's kind of the same level as that, because at the moment that's brighter than her face. So, although I do suspect that my paint didn't mix quite properly. It appears to be a bit lighter than normal. Now you've got the little bony bit on your arm here. There. So it starts at that curve And it goes down along the side of that pumpkin there. Nah, he's just being a git. He knows that I'm live streaming and he wants to go out. You don't need the toilet, mate. Go lay down. My husky's like, oh, are you live streaming? I'm going to be a pain and want to go out. That's alright, mate. I took him out right before. He's just doing that thing where he wants to go out to just stand out there and sniff the air. Aren't you, mate? Yeah, see, you're gone now. Oh, good, I was starting to feel self-conscious of my tramp stamp. Yeah, don't feel self-conscious, mate. They're fine. Can be quite a painful area, so it just goes to show that you've got a good pain threshold. Yeah. Alright, mate, will do. No problem. Oh, yeah. Mum will probably be able to tell you because she can check on a little staff app on her phone that tells her when they've had new deliveries, and if they've had new deliveries, I can't talk. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, come. Yeah, alright, mate. Yeah, I can wake you up. That's not a problem. Sorry, just having a chat with my boy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right, this is where things get tricky, the back of the hand. You're right, Marshall. What's up, buddy? I'm gonna go lay down, mate. Hey. So, let's start with the bits in between the fingers because they're going to be quite dark. You do want to go out, don't you? Yeah, you're going to be a pain, aren't you? Yeah. It's alright, buddy, I got it. I got my air hosing out on the way of the door. Forgive me for a minute, guys. I've just got to let my dog out. Normally I would just open the door and let him out, but the people at the bottom of my garden are building an extension and they've taken the fence out. So I've got to put this big fluffy guy on his lead and actually take him out. So I will be back in 2 minutes, alright? There we go. Sorry about that. We're on a doggy break. You got it. Cool. It is not hot out there. Right, Mia. You go lay down, darling. Good girl. Yes, my husky decided he needed the toilet, and my kids are upstairs, so it was up to me to let him out. Don't drink all your water, you'll need another wee. Look, now I've got one of your hairs on my airbrush. Dear oh dear. Right, where were we? We were doing the gaps in the hand. Right, so let's zoom in a bit so you can see more of what I'm doing. And then let's adjust the angle. Zoom out a little bit. There we go. Okay. So yeah, now the tricky bit, all the stuff on the back of the hand. So all that. Now where am I going to put that where I can see it? Let's put it over there. That'll do. So let's start with this back part here, and we've got a shadow that comes up from about there, goes all the way along. And the knuckle's quite bright because the light was up in this corner when I shot the picture. Obviously you don't want to go too dark with this bit, because if I make these shadows really dark it's going to make the veins on the back of her hand look really pronounced, so you want to do quite light shade in here. I've heard many times that her hands are the most difficult part to paint. Yeah, they say that some artists really struggle to draw feet, but hands excuse me, hands have always been my problem. I've never had an issue with feet, although I always avoid drawing the toes. I just draw them like they've got boots on, sort of thing. But hands have always been my my problem. That's where a good reference comes in handy. Handy, get it? I did not realise how small the painting is. How long have you been airbrushing? Is that the Takumi? It's looking great. Yeah, this is A3. It's just a bit of A3 Bristol board. I tend to work A3 quite often. How long have I been airbrushing? Crikey. 20 years, I think. Yeah, I think I've been going about 20 years. I started just after I met my missus, and we met in 2000, so yeah, I'd say 20 years. And is that the Takumi? I don't know what a Takumi is, mate. What's one of those? Micron CMSB newest model. Oh, right. Oh, we've got a new maker on the market, have we? This I've had for quite a while. I've had it for a good couple of years. This is an Iwata Micron. So I don't think it's a Takumi. I think it's just an Iwata one. I use this and a very old, as you can see, Hardware and Steenbeck Infinity. These are my two babies. And occasionally, if I don't need anything that's on the micron level, I've got a Hardware and Steenbeck Evolution AL Plus. I heard a rumour that even Harder and Steenbeck are owned by Iwata now. I'm so out of touch with all the behind the scenes stuff in the airbrush world. I've used that one alright. Oh, I have. I really have. I bought this many years ago. I mean, it's number 6437, and I think they're a lot further along on the part numbers now, but yeah, all the plating has worn off. My little custom skull trigger there, that was an old earring. But yeah, she's seen some action, this one. She's done a lot of guitars, this airbrush. That brush should be put in a museum. I did wonder, I have wondered about putting that in a little frame and putting it up on the wall. It's a bit of Svi art history, that is. But I need some money to get myself a new one first. Once I get a new one, then yes, that one will be going in a frame and going up on the wall. But until that day, I need it. It's right what they say about it being the poor man's Micron, because back in the day I couldn't afford one of these, so I got that one, and they are very alike. I find the trigger on the Iwata is much more responsive than the H&S. The H&S can be a bit spongy sometimes, but in terms of the level of detail you can get with them, I think they're pretty damn close. So I am a fan of both of them. I highly recommend both of them. If you can afford it, go for the Iwata. If you can't, get yourself the H&S and you won't regret it. They're both great airbrushes. Francis, you were the one who inspired me to get a H&S. Yeah, cool. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I can't fault them. That one's got to be, Christ, 15 years old. Yeah, it's got to be 15 years old. And still going strong. I've obviously replaced the needle a few times, but other than that, all the O-rings in it and all that lot are still the original. It just keeps going. Like most airbrushes, you know, you look after them and they'll serve you for a lifetime. He says when he started his stream with paint in the airbrush and had to clean it out. I do look after him, honest. Sometimes. Unfortunately, as a newbie, the harder Infinity did not do it for me. Swapped it for a PS771 Krios, although the harder has been the best airbrush that I've held in my hands. Ah, cool. It's one of those things where everybody has a different way of working, and therefore one airbrush that suits one person may not suit another. That's why I've been asked so many times over the years, what airbrush do I use and would I recommend it? And yes, I recommend the Micron and the H&S Infinity, but I've always said to people, if you can try an airbrush before you buy it, do it, because everybody works differently. Everybody's got different ways of holding it. I've seen some people who have the trigger like that on the side of their finger rather than on the end of it like that. I've seen other people who use their other finger to do it. I've seen people who airbrush with their thumb like that. So I've always said, if you can try an airbrush before you buy it, then do it, because it's well worth doing. What suits one person doesn't suit another. See it all the time in the tattoo industry. Someone comes out with a spanky new tattoo machine and everybody's like, oh, this machine is the best thing on the planet and all that lot, and everybody rushes out and buys it, and it doesn't suit everybody, and it ends up getting very mixed reviews. You know, some people are like, oh, this is fantastic, other people are like, what is this crap, you know. Like any tool, really. I bet handymen and builders and that lot get the same with power tools and stuff, you know. What suits one person doesn't necessarily suit another. That's not a rumour. I own H&S since 2017. See, I've been out of the loop for that long. Jesus, wow. So I bought out H&S. Blimey. I used to have quite lengthy chats with H&S back in the day. They really liked me using their airbrush in all my videos. They never sent me a free one though. Hint hint. If anyone from H&S is watching. Paint clogged a lot, even with the 0.4 needle. Yeah, that's why I reduce my paint so much. You get, I mean, you have to contend with the spidering. You know, when it hits the surface, it just goes, and you get spider legs everywhere, and it makes that noise as well. But when you reduce it as much as I do, you get very few clogs, and you still get the tip dry. It's air drying paint, so you're always going to get tip dry, but you just don't get it that much, because quite a few people wonder why I reduce it as much as I do. You know, they think I'm nuts because it takes me so many layers to get a nice level of saturation. I just tell them, you know, if I'm doing something but I want solid black, for example, I just don't reduce it that much, you know. But if I'm doing something like this, then I will reduce it a lot. And again, you know, that works for me, but because that works for me doesn't mean that'll work for everybody. Some people may really struggle with having their paint really reduced. Airbrushing is one of those things where you have to really find what works for you, you know, and your way of working. What's your reduction and paint you use? So at the moment, Jesus, I am using the Createx Tim Gore's Bloodline, and in the airbrush at the minute I have got this, the Natural Lip, and I've used 4 drops of this with 4 drops of the illustration reducer, and then just filled up the rest of the paint cup with water. I've used quite a lot of it now, but it was up pretty much up to the top. He said Harder went back to the drawing board and the new needles on version 2 are much better now. That's interesting, because that was my only gripe with the Infinity, is that the needles were like butter. They were so soft that it was so easy to ding them. I mean, they're all easy to ding, but you know, they were just ridiculous. You just had to look at it and you ended up with a fish hook on the end. This hand looks weird. There's something about this hand I don't like. It looks odd. It's too flat. That's what's wrong. Need to add some curvy to it. I need to find a better place for my reference. Stick that over there before I ding the needle. Because you can guarantee, because I mentioned dinging the needles, you can guarantee I'll go ahead and do it. Grab a dog clip. And then I can stick to that. Up there, just like that. Cool. That's better. That finger goes pretty dark there because it goes behind her hair and goes into shadow. right about there-ish. So from the knuckle there, that's pretty damn dark. And then you've got a little divot on the knuckle itself, and then a bit of shading that comes in there. This bit here is really dark, and highlight there with the darker edge there. See, that's why I like working from photo references for so much, because in my head my light source is up in the top right corner, so I would have thought that that edge of that finger, oh no, my watch battery is low, I would have thought this edge of this finger would be quite bright because the light's coming from this side, but on the actual photo it's actually more in the middle. So my brain would have lied to me. So that's why I like working from a photo reference so much. Sometimes I'll do it from my head, but I normally reserve that for doing the more cartoony stuff. Although I'm not aiming for perfect realism with this, I'm still going to have like the airbrushed painterly look on this. It really does help to have a decent reference. So that finger is really dark. A little pinky. And that that knuckle is really bright. What the hell is a knuckle? And we have a line that goes from about there straight across to the bottom of that one, but it's only a light shadow. About like that. Trick is to get all these tendons in and that lot and shadows, but without making it look like a skeletal hand, and it still looks too flat to me. Although there's not a whole lot of shading on the actual photo, it just looks a bit, it's not very rounded, it's very flat. I don't know, that might change as when I go in with the espresso, that may change, but for now I'm not sure about this hand. Now her index finger needs to be darker. Up to that knuckle. There's a little shadow underneath the knuckle like that. Many a knuckle makes a knuckle. I use auto air paint. I found it very good in the HNS. Do they still make auto air? I thought auto air had been replaced by Createx. Although technically auto air was Createx. Didn't they like rename it or something? And the auto air brand is now defunct. I don't know, I could be wrong in that. I have a whole shed full of auto air that's been sat in there for a good 10 years. It's probably no good now. That my good friend Beej Curtis gave me. Any of you in chat around from the old days of airbrushing will remember Beej. Bless his heart. I've got like gallons and gallons of sparklescent paints and stuff in my shed that he gave me. Which is probably all no good now, because like I say, it's been sat in there for a good 10 years. And my shed has had a hole in the roof for a little while. Thanks to the big horse chestnut tree that's right next to it. The poor old shedio. Right, I'm going to leave the hand there. I'm not happy with it, but I think if I keep working on it, I'm going to ruin it. So I'm going to leave the hand there. It doesn't look too bad at the moment. And it might just look odd because it's right next to this huge area of light stuff. So I'm going to carry on. And I may just come back to that. So let's do her chest bit. Move the camera so you can actually see what I'm doing. Like that. And sort my reference out so I can see what I'm supposed to be doing. Pop that in there. Grab that. How are we doing for time? What is it? 20 past 8. That's cool. That's much nicer, these 2-hour streams. I think I'll definitely be doing that in the future. Although, admittedly, it was a bit of a mad dash. Finishing work, getting home, cooking dinner for me and the kids, and doing a load of stuff. It was a bit tight, but I do like it. So I think I'll make my my Saturday squirting streams 7 till 9 from now on. I think it works well. Come on, get in there. There we go. Okay. So I've got my reference where I can see it. Grab Mr. Airbrush again. So, we've got the big shadow from our arm that comes in here, and then we'll have to go careful with the shadows, because if we go too dark down here and dark down here and light there, we're gonna make her look like Pamela Anderson, make it look like she's got double D's or something. So I have to go careful with the shadows here. I don't want to make her look too voluptuous, I think is the term. That's not what this picture is about. Evening, Kenneth. Welcome, my friend. Take care, Jesus. Thanks for joining us, mate. Hands are hard to do. You're right to move on. You have to watch your tone values. Yeah, exactly that. I don't want to push it too far and screw it up. Like you say, it's always a good idea. If you're not sure on something, just move along to the next bit. And like I say, it might look a bit odd just because it's got this huge patch of really light tone next to it. Once I've painted this, that might actually look alright. So. It is Createx. I've just had a look. 5 years old and still okay. That's cool. I've heard people having all sorts of trouble with old auto air. Myself included, actually. I mean, even these paints, this stuff. I've had these for, blimey, about 5 years. Clive Stevens gave them to me. I don't know how long he had them for. And they've gone really thick. They still flow all right. I have to reduce them. I can't use them straight out the bottle. They won't spray. They've gone like honey, I think is the best way to describe it. I still use auto air, more than 10 years old. Bit of 4011 reducer, still flows great. That's cool. My auto air, I ended up getting loads of flakes in it, like dried flakes. You know, like you get around the top of the bottle. I ended up with loads of that actually in the paint itself. So of course you'd pour some in your airbrush and start spraying, and then one of these little flakes would get jammed in the end, and you've got an instant clog. It ended up being unusable, even with the stocking trick. You know, when you get a bit of stocking and stretch it over the top of the bottle and then put the lid back on, and then it automatically strains it as you're pouring it out, sort of thing. I tried that, and it still didn't solve the problem, sadly. But the paints have changed a lot in the years that I haven't been airbrushing. So it could just be that I've got old formula or something, you never know. So I'm not trashing the brand or anything like that. My experience could be very different to anybody else's who buys recent stock. I do love the Createx illustration paints. Losing my voice. I use the illustration paints a lot, particularly the Tim Gore ones. Awesome colours. And the Steve Driscoll Flesh Tone. That is an incredible paint, that one. If they still sell it. I'm going to have a look, because I'm getting a bit low on that one. Yeah, have I still got my bottle of Driscoll tone? There it is. So yeah, detailed Driscoll tone. This paint is amazing for flesh tones, it really is. But I don't know if you can buy it still. I guess you could. Probably growing mushrooms in your paint. Do you know what? It's that sort of thing. It's definitely growing something. SM are now selling dye you mix with your clear. That's interesting. Since getting back into the airbrushing, I've been looking at what's changed in the world of clear coating guitars, and a lot of luthiers and that lot are using resin rather than 2K automotive clear, which is a huge pain in the bum if you do not have a spray booth. I did have my Shedio converted into a spray booth, and I used to do my clear coating in there, but of course that's no good anymore. There's a hole in the roof, and it's full of my wife's old reptile tanks and stuff. So without a spray booth, I can't really 2K clear my guitars, and the weather in the UK is just too wet to do it outside. That'll be impossible. So I've been looking at alternatives, particularly stuff I can just brush on rather than spray. And yeah, resin seems to be something they all use these days, which is quite interesting. I've got one of my guitars hanging just up there, that Big Trouble in Little China one, that I still plan to do, but like I say, I've been researching different clear coats, so I'll have to have a play with that one. Although I am a bit nervous about having a play with that one, because that paint job is going to take me many hours. Last thing I want to do is spend like 300 or 400 hours painting it and then completely balls it up with the clear coat. Is that anything important? Nope, someone wanted a tattoo quote. I'll reply to that later. Well, I'll say no, it is important. That's how I make my living, but I'll reply to that later. What's happened to Clive Stevens? I got some of his artwork. He now flies the air ambulance in Ireland, I think. I believe it's Northern Ireland, but yeah, he's the pilot for the air ambulance now. Used to be so cool when he used to be on before he flew the air ambulance. He used to be a helicopter pilot instructor, and quite often he would fly over my house, and he'd like stop and hover over my house and wait for me to go outside, and then he'd just like dip the nose at me and then he'd fly off. It was really cool. Made me very popular with the neighbours. My kids loved it. Mind you, that's when they were little. They're 15 and 18 now. They probably wouldn't be that impressed now. My son wouldn't put his Xbox controller down for anything like that anymore. Airbrush is cramp. You don't want to melt it with the wrong clear. I used an aerosol 2K. It drives rock hard. Yeah. Custom paints, I think they're called. They used to do rattle can 2K clear, and I used to use that a lot on the guitars because it was really handy. It was just in a rattle can. You just pull the pin out of the bottom and give it a twist, and that mixed it. You know, it released the two parts in it, and then you shake it up for a few minutes, and then spray it. And I think it had an hour work time before the can was useless. So yeah, plenty of time to clear coat a guitar. That was really handy stuff, that, rather than faffing around with a big compressor and a spray gun and stuff, because my compressor can't really handle spray guns very well. It's got 2 fridge motors on it, so I can use the air that's in the tank, but once that's depleted, obviously the motors start up to replenish the air. But if I just keep spraying with the spray gun and empty my tank more than a couple of times, my motors start to overheat. So spray gun was always a bit difficult for me. That's the one. Yeah, they do some awesome paints, those specialist paints. Really nice couple as well who owned it. Their names escape me, but I had a good long chat with them at one of the KKBO shows. And yeah, they're a really nice couple. And they do some amazing colours. Like their flip paints and their metallics and the metal flakes and stuff. They're brilliant. You see, now I've done that hand doesn't look too weird. That hand actually looks okay. It may be a little bit flat, but yeah, it's not looking too bad. It's funny how just having something next to it makes it look very different. So what do we need to do now? We better do that bit of the booby, which is basically as dark as it will go, because it's all in shadow. Oh, bit too much paint there. Dry that off. Is it really 20 to 9 already? Wow. The stream has flown by. I'm definitely doing the 2 hours from now on though. That's much better. I much prefer the 2 hours. I would stream all day if I could, but I'm in the, as I mentioned before, I'm down the end of our living room, so the missus will want to watch telly and stuff. Here we go, I've met him a couple of times at KKBO. Yeah, he's a proper nice guy. He came on one of my airbrushing courses back when I used to teach. And he also attended one of Beege's, I think. And yeah, he's a lovely guy. Airbrush cramp. Thought I was the only one who got it. No, it's not just you, mate. I get it right down the back of my trigger finger right there. It just, every now and then I have to stop and just clench my fist a couple of times. Just get my finger working again. EastEnders, if I remember correctly. She drives me nuts with EastEnders every chuffing night. EastEnders, Holby, Casualty, those are her programs, and sadly they're on practically every night of the week, so I just have to sit here in silence while she's watching her programs and just make myself busy. I need to put a partition across, because it's kind of like this room I'm in, it's the length of the house. That end is our sitting room, and this end is like a dining room next to the kitchen. So if I put a partition wall across and put a door in there, then I could live stream as much as I wanted then. Old age, yeah, the old arthritis is setting in. I tell you what though, I used to get rotten carpal tunnel, like up under my watch there, so like up my wrist here. I used to get rotten carpal tunnel. My ring finger would go completely numb when I was doing the airbrushing, and tattooing has fixed it. I don't know how. It must be something to do with the vibrations from a tattoo machine, but once I started tattooing, it cleared right up. It's really strange. So if you suffer from carpal tunnel, go learn to be a tattooist. But use the old style machines, the coils, the normal ones. Don't use the new rotary ones, because they don't vibrate as much. They're quiet. Yeah, this is looking good. I'm loving how this is turning out. Right, so now adjust the camera angle like so. Stop it from wobbling so you don't get motion sickness. Start on this arm now. So this side is really dark, and then there's a divot and another shadow there. That's the technical term, that, a divot. And I appear to have a blockage. And now I've got no paint. So we better put some more in. Let's just give that a blast through with some water. Cool beans. Right, where's my paint? There it is. Action shot. Electromagnetism and a bit of a vibe. Yeah, it certainly is. It's quite a lot of a vibe. Right, so again, yeah, see if you can see how thick this paint has got over the years. So there you go, look, it's like honey. I'm doing 4, I would say drips, but it's more like 4 dribbles, 4 gloops of that. My granddad used to use an infrared lamp. Yeah, so did my nan actually. The heat from an infrared lamp. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And just go for 6. There we go. Seeing as those gloops were a bit big. And then fill the rest up with a bit of water. Like that. So that's how full my paint cup is. And then stick my thumb over the end and give it a good shake. Beautiful. Right, where were we? So that comes down to about there-ish, this shadow. Come on, airbrush. That's better, thank you. And it comes back up there and goes down there. Everyone thinks that because I airbrush that I can tattoo. It's crazy. Some even think that I can tattoo with the airbrush. I don't understand it. Do you know what? If I could tattoo like I can airbrush, I would be a very happy man. But yeah, it is a totally different animal. It really is. Just because you can paint with one thing doesn't mean you can... Let's rephrase that. Just because you can create art with one medium doesn't mean you can do it with another one, and especially with tattooing. Tattooing is a whole different ball game all on its own. And admittedly, I thought, because when I was offered my tattoo apprenticeship, I was like, yeah, I can paint, I can draw. This will be a doddle. No. Using human flesh for a canvas is an incredibly tricky skill to master. It really is. You have so many more variables. Like today, doing that hand that I did today. The poor guy, by the end of it, was an absolute agony. And the paper doesn't turn around and swear at you and wriggle around and bleed everywhere and leak plasma and stuff. There's so much more to think about with tattooing. And skin just doesn't hold pigment like paper does. And it shouldn't. It's flesh. It just doesn't hold the ink, so you have limitations. Skin can only do so much, and a lot of people think that you can create stuff like this on skin, and although there are ways of cheating it and making it look like this, layering colours over and over like you do with airbrushing and that lot, impossible on skin. You will end up scarring them. Which is the last thing you want to do, of course. You don't want to scar your clients for life or end up hurting them so bad that they pass out or go into shock on it, or just generally have a bad time and never want another tattoo from anyone ever again. That's the last thing you want to do. So yeah, just because you can create art using one medium doesn't mean you can create it with others. I use trigger happy grips, no end with cramp. Yeah, I had wondered about doing some sort of grip or something. I tend to get, when I'm airbrushing, I my finger here locks up because I keep that very straight. So that can sometimes lock up as well. Enough of the delay, keep playing games. I'm glad you're still on. Wow, looks freaking awesome, love it. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for coming back, mate. I can tattoo with an airbrush, temp tats, that is. Yeah, body paint and that. I used to love doing the body paint. I did that one year at the KKBO. And yeah, I've done a few photo shoots with models where we've done body paint, like I've painted a big tiger on someone's back and that sort of thing. It's really fun. Again, you have to watch out though, because if your air pressure's too high, skin doesn't like that. You can end up actually blasting air under their skin and causing bubbles and stuff. So again, the skin is a funny thing. Eat lots of bananas, helps with the cramping. Do you know what? I can't eat bananas. It's weird. If it's in a banoffee pie or something like that, no problem. But if I just get an actual banana and eat it, I get a really itchy mouth and it swells up. It's weird. Really annoying too, because I like bananas. That and tomatoes. I used to love eating like raw tomatoes, and they do the same. I get really itchy mouth and it starts swelling up. But if I get a tomato and I slice it up and put it in a sandwich, I'm completely fine. It's very strange. I'm a bit of a weird one. Wow, life's boring, isn't it, if you aren't at least a little bit weird. You're not lying. My co-worker shot air pressure through a cut. His skin separated and it felt like Rice Krispies. Eventually it went back to normal. Yeah, exactly that, yeah. It was years ago, but I was reading a story about a guy who was doing the old body paint, and he had his airbrush cranked right up. It was like running 60 psi through his airbrush. It was insane amount of air, and the model had like just a big bubble of air under her skin. Almost looked like a kind of a blister you get when you have a burn. It looked like that sort of thing, but it was just full of air, and it's because he had his air cranked up really high. So you have to be careful when it's a human canvas you're using. Their welfare is of utmost importance. Don't know why it popped in my head, but I just remembered that year at the Custom Culture Blast Off show that I was doing body paint. Had to the lass just had some like flesh coloured underwear on, and I had to make it look like she was wearing a pair of jeans, and got to the bit where I had to actually paint in between her legs the blue. That was awkward. I was like, the blue. That was awkward. I was like, here's my airbrush, just spray it down there. It's loaded with the blue, just spray it with this paint. And she was like, you can do it if you want. I was like, no, not comfortable doing that. You just do it yourself. 60 psi, and that's exactly what I thought. I was like, Jesus, if I'm doing body paint, I normally 20-25 psi maximum. Any more than that, and it's like, no. What's that? I know you've got a Brian. Yes, that's the one. You sent me the photos very kindly. I hadn't seen those photos for years. Someone else told me that how they skin animals while they're alive. Cool to me if you ask me. Oh, that skinning an animal when it's alive. Jeez. My missus is into taxidermy. It's quite fascinating. Really, really gross, but quite fascinating. I think the thing I found most fascinating is finding out that birds' bones are like honeycomb inside. They're not solid like ours are. They're almost like a beehive inside. They're all honeycomb. They're all hollow, so that their bones are really, really light. I was quite astounded at that. I had no idea. I got all edumacated and things. You know what, on air bubble in your artery reaching your heart cause a heart attack? Yes, it would. Yeah. I don't know if you would run the risk of it going into your bloodstream. I guess so. I mean, it's your skin, so if it goes deep enough, like tattoo ink, you know, if you got an idiot for a tattooist that runs it way too deep, then you're going to get ink in the bloodstream. So I suppose the same goes for airbrushing and body paint. If he doesn't know what he's doing, then you could potentially get air bubbles in your bloodstream, which would be an absolute disaster. So this shadow goes along there and then up towards the bottom of that leaf. Just like that. What time we got? Oh, 8:57. Wow. This stream has really flown by tonight. Wow. Feels like I've only been painting for 10 minutes. The missus doesn't get home till about 10 past, so I'm going to keep going. Stuff it. Thanks for sharing with me. I'm glad I was able to catch you live. First time here. You do awesome work, but thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Like any creative person, you always have your own self-doubts, don't you? And quite often I do stuff and I look at it and I think, what am I doing? You know, call myself an artist and having a laugh. But no, I appreciate that. Time flies when you're having fun. It certainly does. I'm obviously having fun. I love doing stuff like this though, where there's no real plan, it's just all loose, you've got a rough idea, and you just start painting and you see where it goes. That's the way I like to work, definitely. Obviously you can't do that with a tattoo. You know, you have a set design, you have a set plan, and you have to stick to it. Maybe that's why I like it so much with the painting, you know, because all day, every day, I'm a human photocopier, basically. I've got a printout of a design that either I've done or they've come to me and wanted, and I'm just replicating it, whereas this, I'm literally making it up as I go along. So we really enjoyed tonight. I've learnt a bit more. Thank you. It's looking really good. You're welcome, DRN. Thank you for joining. It's always nice to see you, buddy. And no doubt I will see you on Wayne's stream. Yeah, this is coming out really nice. Even if I do say so myself. I know I'm going to be a bit biased, but... Sarah Latching watching, thank you. You're very welcome, Graham. Yeah, it's quite odd, isn't it? I quite often go on Twitch and watch artists painting, and it's almost like meditation, isn't it? You can just sit there and just watch someone else paint or draw or whatever, and it is really relaxing. Good night, Jesus. Thanks for joining, buddy. And yeah, I'm going to call it quits in a minute. And you're inspirational. It's funny how you influenced me back in days of old and you're still doing it. Glad to be an inspiration, mate. Like I've always said, if I can pass on what I've learnt to someone and help them out, and I'm always willing to do it. This was nice. We really enjoyed it. It's looking great. Cheers, Willie. Yeah, Wayne's stream is great. Love Wayne. He's a great guy. And Esther. They're a really nice couple. It's not often you find genuine nice people like that, you know. Well, I think I hear a car, so I might have to call it there. Let's zoom out. Or am I already? Yeah, I'm already zoomed out to the max. Okay, let's just adjust the angle a bit. No, I can't get it all in frame. Let's put the airbrush over there so I don't ding my needle. And then switch camera to that one. Hey. And then pop that off of there, like so, and then we can undo these like that and like that, and then I can show you on this camera, hopefully. There she is. So that's as far as we've got. It's coming together really nice. I'm liking this. So yeah, I'm going to end it there. Thank you for tuning in. I've got myself all tangled up in the air hose. it's been fun tonight. Definitely going to do the 2 hours without a doubt. So from now on, I'll be going live at 7 PM rather than 8. I like that. So yeah, that can go there. Now, I've noticed that the end of my streams keep cutting off, so I've got a really nice end stream picture to go to. So, you all take care. Thanks for joining the stream and chatting to me and all that lot. It's been fun. Like I say, I'll be back next Saturday, 7 PM Greenwich Mean Time. Look after yourselves, take it easy, and I will see you next Saturday. Bye bye.